Hey guys, Rick Stone here from Stony Acres Gardening. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about planting peas. So stay tuned. It's going to be a fun video. Before we get started, please make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click that notification bell so you get noticed every time I release new videos. Follow us over on Instagram. We'd love to have you join us there as well. All right, so this is one of my spring planting series videos that we're doing here in 2023. This is not going to be like a comprehensive guide to growing peas or anything like that. All we're going to talk about today is planting and how to get them planted and when, okay? All right, so peas are a fairly hardy plant. They stand up well to frost. The actual pea itself that's growing on the plant does not, but by the time we get them planted and growing and they start to mature, frost is going to be past, and so we don't have to worry too much about those peas getting damaged by the frost. But it's okay to plant them fairly early in the season because they are so hardy. Okay, so I recommend that you try to get your peas in 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. Now, I totally recognize, depending on where you live, that might just literally be impossible. You may have snow 6 weeks still from your last frost date. But if your garden has cleared off, you've got some dry spot, you've been able to work the soil a little bit, then go ahead and get your peas planted, because they're going to be fine. Even if it snows on them, even if you have hard frosts and everything, it's all going to be okay because they're a very hardy plant. And the sooner you get them in, the sooner they'll bear, and the sooner that you can get them out of your garden and replace them with warm season crops. If you wait too long, then we end up being, July before they're finished, and then it's really hot and they don't taste as good, and then you're running out of time to get warm season crops in to replace them. So the sooner you can get them planted, the better. I like to try and get mine planted mid to late March so that they're ready to harvest, mid to late June, and then we still have time to replace that space with something else warm season and get another harvest out of that bed, okay? All right, now one of the big questions that I get quite often about peas and beans and other hard-seeded plants is whether we should soak the seeds before we plant them. I've always soaked my seeds. You usually want to soak them for about 6 to 8 hours before you plant them. But the logic behind it to me is those seeds need to take on water, right? So peas and beans both need to take on water before they can germinate and sprout. And so if we provide that water before we put them in the ground so that the seeds are already soft before they go in the ground, then logically they ought to germinate quicker. And I have found that that is the case, although I've never really done like a side-by-side comparison. If you have an area where you get plenty of moisture in the spring and the ground is always going to be wet and moist, then maybe you don't need to worry about soaking them. But for me, where we kind of go hit and miss, we'll have rain for a week and then we'll have a 2-week dry spell. I like to make sure that I soak them so that they germinate as quickly as possible, okay? Now, peas are very big, solid seeds, okay? And so we can actually plant them deeper than most other garden seeds. You can go 1 to 2 inches deep depending on what source you're reading. I like to get mine about 1 inch deep. Spacing, again, is debatable. I like my rows, so this is a 4-foot bed and I've got 4 rows in them, and so we'll end up with about 8 to 12 inches worth of spacing in that bed. And you'll see that as we go. And then within the row, I usually try to get them spaced about 2 inches apart. But you'll see as we're kind of going through and planting, when I actually do the cutaway to do the planting, you'll see that we're not super good about that. And it's okay, because peas seem to just take well to intense planting, especially if we're talking about the shelling peas. They seem to really take well to being fairly intensely planted. So somewhere around 2 inches spacing between seeds is a pretty good spacing, okay? Nothing else really special that you have to do. If you want to, you can inoculate the seeds first. An inoculant will help with the nitrogen fixing and a few things like that. let's get some peas planted. Let's go ahead. We're going to just do some cutaways. AJ's going to take over the camera, and we'll get a few peas planted, and then I'll come back and kind of give you a roundup. Okay guys, so we are going to plant some sugar snap peas right here. We've obviously got quite a bit of space. We want this first little bit to be sugar snap peas, and then we'll do our shelling peas down here. So again, these have been soaking for about 6 hours, and we have a lot of rain coming too, so that's a good thing. So we're just going to go ahead and plant these about 2 inches apart. Peas are pretty easy to manage the spacing with, because they're big. So we're just going to go ahead, put those in like that, and then we'll just cover them in. So we don't have to worry too much about depth, because again, they're a big seed and they're going to be in pretty good shape. So about 1 inch to 2 inches deep, 2 inches of spacing, rows 8 to 12 inches apart, and you are in pretty good shape. All right, it's that simple to plant peas. They should come up in, depending on what your weather is like and the warmth of your soil, should be up in a week to maybe 2 weeks tops. All right, so as you can see, peas are very easy to plant. Other things that you need to consider when you're planting is trellising. Peas do much better with some type of a trellis. Shelling peas usually only need like maybe a 3-foot trellis, whereas the snap peas and the snow peas will need more like a 5 to 6 foot trellis in order to grow. So keep that in mind as well. That can be fun. It can add some real character to your garden as well if you want to do something like that. Okay. That's planting peas. Let me know if you've got any questions. I'd love to help you out, and we will be back here in a few days with another planting guide. Before we leave, make sure you get subscribed, like this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you go follow us over on Instagram as well. Check out our Get Your Garden Planted Challenge, which is coming up the end of April. There's a link right up here that you can click on that will take you over so that you can sign up for the wait list on that, or there's a link down in the description as well. Okay. That's all for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. Talk to you later. Happy gardening.